So hello my brothers and sisters, my name is Tim Heijen and I am a Dragon Witch, and in this video I'd like to explain to you a bit more about Draconic Wicca. Draconic Wicca itself, because there is fairly not much known about Draconic Wicca and what the hell is actually Draconic Wicca. There is so much known about normal Wicca or even other branches of Wicca, like in itself Luciferian Wicca or even Christian Wicca and what kind of a Wicca, but Dragon Wicca or Draconic Wicca. Now, not that much is known, not in the entire world is very much known about Draconic Wicca. The name was actually invented in 1994 by a writer named DJ Conway. She used that word, draconic kind of Wicca, and since then it was much more known as Draconic Wicca. First of all, in Draconic Wicca, we believe in dragons very much, and that in itself is very much strange for the majority of people, because for the majority of people, dragons don't exist. Dragons are just fantasy. But it goes much more deeper, and that is the first thing that I want to explain to you about Draconic Wicca. Draconic Wicca is pagan, very much pagan, because it used to be a religion. And all of the dragon gods that I actually worship, for example, Tiamat, Fafnir, Quetzalcoatl, and Leviathan, they were all very much worshipped by humanity and very much well known as the embodiments of nature. And that is also what Draconic Wicca is much. It's a spirituality that goes very deep inside of nature. It's actually nature spirituality. And yeah, we are pagan. We are actually reviving something old, something ancient, something that humanity has long forgotten. And that is the reason why people still think that believing in dragons is ridiculous. But you shouldn't care about that. You should never care about what other people say. In Draconic Wicca, we don't listen to other people. We just are very much to ourselves. And that is the other thing that you need to know from Draconic Wicca. We are a solitary path. We are not like in Wicca coming together and do prayers and do ceremonies together. It's a very much a solitary spirituality, just as the dragons are. The dragons are also very solitary, and they surround us. They don't surround them. So our dragons, the dragons that we feel, the dragons that we believe in, those are the dragons actually that are not connected to them, but to you, only to you. So the Draconic Wicca is a very solitary path. It's not coming together. Like I said, it's not a religion, and that is the other thing that I want to say about Draconic Wicca. It's not a religion. It was, like I said, it was invented by DJ Conway, the writer of what was it? The writer of Dancing with Dragons, and she called us a draconic kind of Wicca, but we are not like Wicca. We are kind of like Wicca because we have our own gods, we have our own spirits, and we have our own ways, our own ceremonies, our own magic, you could say. Very much different with normal Wicca. But in this, like I said, we are very much alone. We don't have priests. We don't have dragon priests telling us what to do. And that is just the same with what we believe that dragons are. Dragons also don't let themselves be bossing around. They are very much strict into what they have to themselves. So actually what we are doing in Draconic Wicca, we follow the ways of the dragon and the ancient ways of the dragon, and we hope to understand them. And that is what Draconic Wicca actually is. We try to hope to understand them so that we can live like them, like they are teaching us. So that is also what Draconic Wicca is actually to open up the dragon light. To open the dragon light, which means there are so many lights inside of the universe, but one is actually meant for you. If you actually are, for example, if you are triggered by seeing the image of the dragon, then it might be that the dragon light is your light. So with finding your own dragon light, you also find yourself around in Draconic Wicca, like the Draconic spirituality. I renamed it from a Draconic Wicca into the Dragon's Path, because actually that is also what I call Draconic Wicca, because a lot of people actually don't like the word Draconic Wicca simply because it's not Wicca, but it's how people actually they know it from this name. It was the first name that our pagan path was actually named. It was Draconic Wicca because of the similarities with normal Wicca. And what we also have is a self-discovery inside of this. A lot of people on Draconic Wicca, in this case, believe themselves to have a spirit of the dragon. And inside of this Draconic Wicca, we are trying to discover our own selves. Some kind of a self-discovery that we are doing inside of Draconic Wicca. A self-discovery that takes some time, because a lot of people also try to rush everything, but in Draconic Wicca we should not rush everything. We try to understand ourselves, we try to understand our dragons, we try to understand our gods. And inside of this spiritual pagan path, we try to understand why the dragon is so much connected to us. The next thing that you need to understand from Draconic Wicca is dragon worship, and that is eventually what we do. We do worship the dragons, and in this case not simply dragons from Dungeons and Dragons or fantasy dragons. No, for us the dragons are very much real in a spiritual form, and we very much understand them. We try to understand them, we try to feel them, we try to hear them, we try even to smell them. We try to do so much connection with them that we understand much more of the path that we are into. No one is telling us that this path is something that we need to take. It's something that we need to feel ourselves. And dragon worship in itself is also something that we feel, not something that we need to do. Inside of religions, they need to do worship. Well, we don't need to do worship. If we don't worship the dragon, well, actually, we feel bad. We feel something that we don't do for the dragon. And that is also in Draconic Wicca, that we need to understand ourselves and the dragons themselves. So we don't need to worship, but we worship anyway, because that is how much love that we have for our spirits and our gods. And the next one is to understand Draconic Wicca. It's not simply a roleplay game. This is a philosophy of life that we are trying to follow. A philosophy of life that we need to follow for ourselves, not from others. So we are not trying to copy other people on Draconic Wicca. We are trying to do our own path and our own philosophy and our own rules. For example, I have a lot of rules made by Draconic Wicca in itself. It doesn't mean that I need to invoke it with other people on the dragon's path, even though it's hard. I have to say it. The things that the dragon teaches me is the things that I like to teach for other people, but not in the name of the dragon. It's just a way of living as a better human being for myself, for example. The ways of the dragons are the ways of wisdom and knowledge. So that is what I'm also, for example, trying to do with other people. Try to share what the dragon has taught me, but not in the name of the dragon, just in the name of wisdom and knowledge. It's a philosophy of life, and for everyone this could be different. But every dragon is wise and ancient and is going to teach you also some of this ancient wisdom. And that is also what is a lot of involved inside of our Draconic Wicca path. Another thing that you need to know from Draconic Wicca is balance. And balance, which means, and that is why we are sometimes seen as some kind of a Satanist spirituality, which is not. We are not a Satanist spirituality. That is religions. Inside of religions, they have the good and the bad. Well, we don't have this. And you can only, in the religions, you can only follow the good, because light and bad is evil. Well, inside of Draconic Wicca, we embrace both of them. We embrace balance. We embrace, for example, our own darkness as our own light. We see the light better when we stand inside of the darkness, and that is typically something of Draconic Wicca that we don't choose before something happens. We don't choose for light whenever someone asks for light. We just try to balance everything. Without the darkness, you will never see happiness, because you have to learn from the darkness as well. And that is also what we are trying to do inside of our dragon magic. We are also trying to invoke the darkness, simply because without the darkness there is no light. And we need to understand everything from darkness and light. And inside of our Draconic Wicca path, we are trying to learn from that, trying to learn from darkness and light together. And of course, why are we Draconic Wiccans in the first place? Because you are triggered for this, for the image of the dragon, which means that you have something much more than just simply love for the dragon. When it's actually very simple. I have this, I was in France, and there was some kind of a ceremony going on from a religion, and the parents were trying their hardest, their best to let their children say, look at that, look at that, look at our religion, look at what is happening, because you have to find it, you have to love it, you have to love it, find a lot of love for that. But the children were very distracted and they didn't care for that. 1 week later, in that same town in France, was a gigantic dragon, an animatronic dragon that went through the streets because of some festivities. And I saw all of these children reaching out for that dragon, and I will never forget that. No one was saying that they had to do it or they should do this, should love that dragon. No, they were enchanted by this. They loved it so much with all of their heart, and they just wanted to touch the head of the dragon. And that is how real Draconic Wicca is. We also want to touch that dragon. And there is a dragon with us. There is a dragon with those who are on Draconic Wicca. We know there is much more than just humans in this world with animals. There is much more to it. It's much more deeper that it all goes. Things that we might not know and things that we want to discover. But the thing, once you discover the dragon and you say for yourself that this is indeed the path that you want to follow the dragon. And that is eventually what Draconic Wicca is. We follow the dragon. We follow our instincts that follows the dragon. And that is what Draconic Wicca is. That is embracing the love that we have for the dragon. But knowing there is so much more than the dragon. It's also magic. It's also the rules that we make for ourselves. It's a philosophy of life. It's not at all like they claim that we are some kind of a satanistic thing. I don't mind about Satan or whatever. That is Christianity, and I don't care for Christianity or any other kind of religion. And none of us do that. The only thing that we care about is the dragon, and that is the thing that surrounds Draconic Wicca. We try to explore ourselves. We try to explore this world. We try to explore the dragons by our side, and we try to explore the dragon within us. We try to explore so much more than any religion does, and we do it in our own way. And that is why it's so very solitary. But it doesn't mean that we cannot come together. Of course, if you have the opportunity to come together, just keep in mind everyone has their own path to follow. Everyone has their own main goddess or gods, dragon gods, the main dragons, the dragons of some, and the main, of course, the rules that they create for themselves. But that is the big difference with normal Wicca. In normal Wicca, it's all established. Here, you have to establish your own path. And that is why I remained to Draconic Wicca, to the Dragon's Path.